Alright, this is gonna be my first video for you niggas. See, being me is can be a little jarring, can be a little bit too much for a lot of motherfuckers. So I just have to be who I am. And the problem with that, it can come either way. Like it can be here or there. I could be here or there in your in your taste buds, or maybe not so much. But the reason that it's such a struggle to speak is because of the past experiences where I have gone out of my way to be fully myself. So anything could come out of my mouth sometimes. I don't even know what the fuck to expect that's going to come out of my mouth. So what happens then is that I'll say some outlandish thing that is going to make a motherfucker be like, I hate this motherfucker. And then I'll be like taking that shit personal. I'll be like, man, if you want a beef, you want some beef, man, I'll give you some of that meat. Pause on that. But, I just have to figure out the way to tactfully is the key word, tactfully deliver some of the things that I really want to say. There's really going on in here without stopping and thinking. I know when you hear me speak, there is so much pausing, there's so much stuttering, mental stuttering that causes mental verbal stuttering. And over the course of time of repetition of stuttering, what happens? You become the stutterer. So this is what happens when you have trauma, when you're pumping the brakes. You don't even have fuck trauma. You don't even have to have trauma. You just have to have this kink in your mind, even if it's a small one. Remember, it only takes one traumatic episode or one fucked up episode where your mind is going to spiral and it's going to change the whole way you perceive everything. And after that, how you do one thing, I hate this saying, but it might be true. How you do one thing, you do everything. And I hate to say it, but there might be some truth to it, because the way you stutter in the mind, and your mind is like kind of sluggish and fucked up with your mouth and the way you're expressing, all of a sudden all the thing is out of sync. It's like one note on an organ, one note is off, the whole thing is off. Like you're playing it and then you got one fucked up note. What else are you supposed to get? A beautiful symphony? No, you're gonna get some shitty symphony, no matter how good the rest of the parts are. So this is the same thing, because it also leaks into other parts of your life. Your psyche is super powerful. Your psyche, that's why people who have traumas, I no longer identify with having traumas and shit, because I have healed them. I have removed, strapulated, scalpel them out, threw those motherfuckers away, burned them, threw a kamehameha on them, just like fucking blow them up. And that's what you all have to do if you want to move forward. If you have to move forward, you have to undo all the beliefs that you have in your mind, all the negative beliefs, all the limiting beliefs. Energetically, that's going to transform over time. That's going to have to transform over time, but at least mentally, you must take power of your mind, take power of your thoughts. Consciously and unconsciously, find a way to get deep in there, pause again, and pull them all out. Pull them out, find those things that are still deep inside of you, and pull it out. Because if you don't, you're just going to keep repeating the same bullshit you've been repeating. I can sometimes, to some people, come across as someone very dense, and that's because I am dense. Sometimes I'm fucking dense as hell. Like, I feel myself being dense as a motherfucker. Like, I have no expression, no emotion. Sometimes it's cold as a motherfucker, like stone. And then I'm like, whoa, am I even alive? Sometimes I'm like a full robot. And then I'm like, all right, let me feel something. So I will put myself in situations where it's so fucked up that I'll end up feeling something terrible. And that is, my friends, a cope. A cope to feel something when I can't tap into myself. So recently, the past few months, been working on that, on how to tap into myself without needing to put myself on some sort of fucked up situation in order to feel something. And a lot of you probably do the same thing unconsciously. You'll unconsciously put yourself in extreme, intense situations if you don't feel anything, if you feel numb, apathy, if you just like fuck it, I don't care, or I just feel dense as hell, like, and everything sucks, life sucks. Because when you have, and why does it suck? It sucks because sometimes you feel like so limited by life, right? It's almost like you're in a prison, like you're in a mental prison. You've been trying to escape for years and years and years, but after year after year after year of not seeing it, not seeing the escape or the exit, you just kind of become rigid inside, like mentally rigid, like trapped in your mind, trapped in your space, and the energy becomes trapped. Everything becomes trapped and locked up, and that shit can fuck you up mentally and physically. Eventually, your body begins to create the circumstances so that your body manifests, materializes as a fucked up, rigid version of yourself. So it is super important to undo all of these fucked up beliefs, limiting beliefs, extrapolate them, um, cut them off, throw them away, and begin to install new ones as quickly as you burn off the other ones. You got to be able to do that simultaneously, because if you don't, then you fall into the healing, endless fucking healing cycle of like always healing, always healing. Like a lot of these spiritual niggas out there who are always in the healing, and I hate it being thrown in a bunch. Like, yeah, sure, like, I'm always on the spiritual growth journey, but the spiritual growth journey is not something that I like to be defined by. Like, you could say, yeah, I'm extremely, I have a lot of love for the spirit side, or the spirit realm, or my spiritual man, right? I have a lot of love for that. I have a lot of love for God, and or my higher mind, or Christ consciousness within me, or the creator within me, right? So, or my right brain. I have a lot of love for that. But what's happening right now in society is that there is so much of that disguised as a trend, disguised as some sort of cope for wounded people, especially men. And, women, that I don't care. They can have all the spiritual cope they need. But men are like, it's an irk. It's a pet peeve of mine. If that's a pet peeve, I don't even know. But it's something that fucking irks me to see like a dude use spirituality as a cope mechanism to fucking hide under, and then fucking be stuck there forever, for just healing like a broad, man. That's like, it feminizes men. It feminizes the man. It keeps them stuck. It just kind of puts them in like a very disgusting energy. And honestly, I could see how I was at one point being pulled towards that, and then I realized something is not right about this shit. Something is not right about this spiritual shit here. They're all talking about their feelings, a low circle, and let's talk about express how we feel. I'm like, what are we, bunch of broads in here? Like, what the fuck happened? And so then I realized it's just like the church. It depends what kind of church you subscribe to, but I used to go to this church where like you would see a bad motherfucker come in, like, he looked like he had aura, he was masculine, and then he converted to Christianity, and like a week later or a month later, that motherfucker was like so tame, so domesticated. It was weird. It was like how when dogs are aggressive, and then they castrate them, and then they're like very people pleasing, and it's so strange to see that. And I'm like, I never want to be like that. I never fucking want to be like that. Why does that happen? But psychologically, to a degree, it happened because I was around those people. So here's the next thing: you've got to be very mindful of who you spend your time around, even if it is like circles of people that you tend to have to be around. For example, if you got a day job and you got to be around your knucklehead coworkers, if you have them, and all they talk about is low vibrational stuff, gossip, fear, worry, complaint, all kinds of bullshit, that it's going to try to infect your psyche because you're around it. What else are you gonna do? Are you going to hold the frame, which is very hard for a lot of people to hold, the frame of like, no, I don't give a fuck to be ostracized for not being part of this collective, which is in distress, or like I call it like the personal hell of being in a place where everybody is low vibing, and you refuse to feed that shit to your subconscious mind because you want to make change, but you're around a bunch of like dirt and poison and parasites. What are you expecting? You can't overpower these things, and then to go and just be positive. It's ridiculous because it is called toxic positivity when you're clearly not in a positive state. However, you can change, you can shift your perception, and it can help. But if you're still in the same fucking place where you're getting hammered with all of these affirmations from the external world, it's not gonna work out for you. It is just not gonna work out for you. So sometimes it's best to like quit that job, get out of there, find something else, elevate your thinking, shift your perception, and then find a place that is more suitable to you, more suitable to you, something where at least the people are not complaining, you know. But that's the other thing, 99% will complain. And even fuck, I'll complain sometimes if I'm not conscious of what I am doing. If you're just going through the motions like a robot, like an automaton, like an NPC, if you're just going through the motions of life and you just say whatever comes to mind, but in not in a free flowing way, but in a unconscious, very NPC program way, which is how other people respond. And you know, like for example, you see somebody, and the common question people ask is what? Hey, how you doing? Good, 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 good. Hey, how you doing? Good, good. Like that's an example of NPC thinking, like NPC program thinking. There's nothing exciting. I mean, you could say, oh, that's just being polite. That is just being normal human. But that's the fucking problem. If 99% of people are normal, but if you're not normal, then you're not going to ask that question, or you're not going to ask how you doing, or you're because do you actually care? Unless you genuinely fucking care how they're doing, unless you genuinely care, and you are ready to sit with them for a conversation about that, then you ask the question. I can, you know, go for it. But if you don't care to hear, if you're just passing by and say, hey, how you doing, keep moving, that is a fucking NPC answer. I mean, question and answer for them to say, oh, good, good, and just like keep going. That's not doing. But some people will write it off as, yeah, that shit is that's how culture is around here, and the culture is so fucked up. It's an NPC culture. So ask yourself, do you want to be an NPC, or do you want to be a real person, a real human, a real being? Not even a person, because a person is on paper. It's not even real. It's not even you. It's the person. That's a whole nother topic that I don't know if I want to get into it on this video. But just like to give you a sense of what I mean is that the living flesh, blood and bone, you who belongs to the land, who is free, who is born free, who is born abundant, who is born perfect, without all these beliefs that people impose on you once you're growing up, teaching you their ways and shit. That being is not a person. That's a living being. That is the man or the woman, whatever. But when you're born, you're also put into a contract by your so-called, by your father and mother, or in that case they sign off as the parents, like the rents, the ones who are renting or subletting ownership of a digital, well, at this point right now is digital, but a legal or paper fictional or fiduciary uh, paper form of you, which is your birth certificate that comes from your certificate of live birth. So they literally give up rights, your rights, because they have ownership over you, give up your rights, and now they turn that paper into a birth certificate that is owned by the Vatican, by the church, and the state gives you your social security, and now you're owned by the church and the state, which is like the father and the mother, and framing your real living flesh father and mother as parents, not really, they're not really your owner, father and mother, but as a representative on paper that they are only watching you. They're your guardian, legal guardian, but they're not the owners of you because they have given ownership on paper. I don't know if you follow any of that, but I hope you did because that was my best way of explaining it right now. And so from that point, they make you believe that you are this fucking paper, and the paper is a person. So it's called. That's why it's called, a corporate, your corporate name, because it's a corpse. It is dead. It is a dead entity. It is only a paper. It doesn't have any living any living constitutional rights. So it can only have codes and statutes like a dead person. It can only have codes and statutes and that it has to abide by. You, the living man, has constitutional rights because you are under the law of the land or common law or the living law, not the fucking law of the water, which is the law of commerce, which is the law of maritime law, which is this person usually in commerce, lost at sea. And if for as long as you tie your identity to this man, you're gonna be doing exactly what this paper is bound to do, which is the debtor. It is tied to debt. That's why it's called the debt entity. And so you think you're dead, lost at sea, until you can undo. Fuck, okay, I'm extending on here. Until you can undo this contract where you assumed the identity of this dead entity and take ownership of the dead entity. Now you control the dead entity as the agent for that entity because really it's a part of you. It's a part of you that hasn't been reclaimed. So for as long as you don't reclaim that, who is going to make those decisions for you? The GOV. That's who makes the decision. That's who's going to run you. You buy a house, you still got to pay taxes. You pay off the house, you still got to pay property taxes. You don't pay, they take your house. You don't do something right, they'll come and try to confiscate you, unless you really know how to play the game of the private trusts and foreign trusts and put your private trust in a foreign trust, and then you're good. You can even put your estate in a private trust and a foreign private trust, and you're good. That's how the rich do it. But people who have that information tend to gatekeep sometimes. So it's a pain in the ass to get it done the right way, because if you don't do it the right way, you can also land up in jail because they know that some people are trying to do this thing, and there are consequences for not executing correctly. So tread with caution with that, and don't just believe any damn YouTuber who's out there telling you can do these things, but then send you off to you on your way, and you don't even fucking actually get to the end point with the right information, and they just set you up for fail. So that being said, this is no kind of legal advice or nothing, but you do need to know the law, become lawfully competent of mentis compass, instead of just like learning all these codes and statutes. I mean, it's good knowing all of it, but who knows everything about everything? I say you find the people that knows the best things, which is what I'm good at. I'm good at finding the right resources, sometimes too many fucking resources scattered everywhere where I'm just kind of like pulled in many different directions. So sticking to one thing is the key for me. Sticking to one thing, laser focus on one thing, and go after it, because what happens to a lot of us is that we develop all of this novelty ideas and novelty paths and rabbit holes that we love to explore, especially if you have a mind like me, like you're fascinated by knowledge, wisdom, and everything that could make you better, or in every way, physically, mentally, spiritually. So you got to pick one lane and you got to stick to it. You got to stick to it and see it fucking through in order to come out the other side. And now to go back full circle to the beginning of this this video, which was trauma and spirituality and not staying stuck in the fucking cave licking your wounds, because the longer you stay there, the stronger the resentment towards yourself for staying there will build. And then that personality that you're creating, where you have density or whatever that you project. Oh, that's another thing. You begin to project energy without you even noticing. You're like, oh, but I'm trying to connect, but I'm trying to connect, but you can't fucking connect because something back there is like, you might do your very best effort to try to connect and send emotion through the fucking real world out here, or this illusion. It's not even real, but whatever. Send your energy, and people can't feel it. They don't feel shit, especially if you have density. Like, you know, some people perceive me as extremely dense. You know who you are. But inside of me, I'm not dense at all. I'm actually like a fucking fire, but none of that fire is being seen because the exterior is like a block maybe. I don't know. We're working on that. And that's what we're making this shit. That's why I'm making these videos right now. To begin to just like bring everything out as is. And as I was explaining at the beginning, when you have so much filtering that you do on your brain due to trauma or due to being like totally shut up, or that your ideas whatever are crazy or whatever it is, we're getting in fucking trouble, getting fired, getting in some sort of like breakup, we're getting some like, you know, dangerous situation where you almost get killed for the things you say. You know, that will start slowly putting a pump in your mind, and to start watching and threat monitoring fucking everything you're saying, so that your mouth begins to stutter. It's like, let me go say the safe thing. Let me say the safe thing. And then you don't even speak clearly because your brain is thinking one thing, but your mouth is coming up with words that are safe, and you don't even understand why you say the way you say things. And it's a conscious work to begin to finally just fucking let it go, let it rip, let it come out how it comes out. And eventually things begin to flow. Eventually you begin to say what's really coming to you, not through just like your controlled thinking, but through uncontrolled thinking, just like resting. It's almost like it's coming from a different place that is not the mind, but the heart, which is so strange because it happens in spurts. Like if you can tap into it, maybe that's what people call flow. I think people call it flow, and they often say it's the mind, but I don't think it's the mind. I think it comes from a deeper place than the mind. You can call it subconscious mind. People think the subconscious mind is in the mind. I think the subconscious mind is in the heart. And when you start to speak from the heart, it is comes natural. Doesn't come from force. The mind tends to force everything, and I think that the heart is where things flow, since the heart has the electromagnetic center, which is like the what is it called? The toroidal field. It is the core of the toroidal field. It's the biggest electrical component. It is like the motor to this vehicle or this body or this vessel. So taking care of the heart is a huge, huge fucking thing. And being able to have joy for people like me is a big deal. Like if you find yourself apathetic, stoic, or fucking taking these, listening to these people online that you need to be like stoic and show no emotion, because going from one end to like being super feminine and crying and licking your wounds and being in an endless healing state, and grand rising, namaste, now, you know, hamashua, hamashia, brother, all that shit can keep you like feminine as hell, always crying. But the opposite extreme also is terrible for you. The opposite extreme being like the fucking the Andrew Tate type, where like you walk like you have like a damn stick up your ass, you nothing bothers you, you're just like a stone, a statue. Then you're suppressing everything. You're just suppressing everything, or putting up a masculine, tough, macho persona. That also fucks you up, because then you have built a shell, and then when it's time to be the thing and you crumble under pressure, shame gets you. And when shame gets you, shame is the lowest fucking frequency. People think it's apathy, but it's shame. Shame is the lowest frequency that you can have. And shame is not because other people see you, it's because you know that you know yourself, and then the shame is within you. So when you have that frequency and then you walk around the world, that's why they say when you're in private, the way you carry yourself in private is the energy you come out in the real world, because that is the fucking truth. If you do some shady shit, some shameful things in private, it's going to come out in the real world. And people, especially women, if you're young and you're out there, if you're out there talking to women, they can pick that up, like, oh, this guy has a lot of shame, so there's like putting off that vibe. Or maybe they don't won't say it like that, but they'll feel it intuitively that something's off, whether you come off right, like, jacked, fucking buff, whatever it is, looking good, smelling good, but you have that inside of you as a part of your mechanism, your psychology. That is the energy you're projecting. Shame. You just fucking I don't know, choke the chicken or something, like right before you went out, and then you feel ashamed of that. Then that's why corn. I don't know if I'm gonna say it, see if a fucking video gets cut down. Porn, watching pornography is terrible for your psyche, it's terrible for your self-esteem, it's terrible for your energetic body, it's terrible for your spiritual body, it's terrible for you energetically, physically. Just think about all the organs, everything, all the tissue that it takes for that to be pulled into. So for you just to like dump it to some damn digital pixels on the screen, like, come on, man. uh I'd see that is worthy if it's like, if you go out in the field, find somebody that you like, they like you, you put some effort into that, and then bring it. That is more gratifying, and that makes more sense, because that's at least a living being that you connected with. But if there's no connection, it's just like fucking pixels, that's like the worst way to go. So do not recommend that, especially if you're trying to avoid being in the lowest frequency, because that's how most people end up in shame, especially the men, because you have free porn everywhere, free access to it, free access to masturbation, like easy access to. That's another way to be in shame. Why do you think a lot of guys ego check themselves by talking about, oh yeah, you've been jacking it off, right? You've been jacking off, because that's a way to ego check a man. And then if the guy's actually been doing it, if the guy's actually been doing it, he's gonna feel shame, and that's just gonna lower his vibe. Either that will inspire him to fucking not do it anymore, or keep himself from doing it, or I don't know. That's just gonna keep spiraling like a snowball effect until the shit no longer bothers him. I don't know. One of the two has to happen. Either he'll have to look at himself and no longer be bothered by it, or he'll have to look at himself and be so bothered by it that he needs to make a change in his psychology and his behavior. And that's real with everybody. Like, there's only so much that your patterns can take before you had enough and you want to make a change. And that change sometimes can come from learned wisdom from others. Like, oh, I'm seeing what others, like, I'm learning from others, which is the wiser thing to do than to say, well, I have to experience it for myself. And if you're stubborn, like me, I'd say I have to experience shit for myself before I make a change in life. And then you have to go through the grind, you have to go through the fucking excuse me, you have to go from, what was I saying? Fuck. You have to go through the meat grinder and then come out through the fucking meat grinder and rebuild yourself, pretty much, like pull yourself together, everything, all those pieces that were like distorted or ripped apart or shattered, whatever way you want to metaphorically conceptualize. You have to bring all that together, which brings great ROIs. You become not only like tough as fuck, but also know that you can die and be reborn again over and over and over, which is like more of my style of resurrection. I mean, more of my style of transformation, to die and resurrect, metaphorically, and sometimes close to like real life too, but more so metaphorically. And that is, we're getting close to 30 minutes. That is the end for these 30 minutes, sharing some of what can help a man come out of that fucking cave of licking your wounds. Stop licking your wounds. Just go and shift your consciousness. Rise above the wound. Rise above the pain. Rise above the disadvantage. If you're complaining, let go, let your old self die so that your new self can be reborn. And your new self is usually taking back your power and going back inside and knowing that you are the son of God, that you are a child of the light, that you are one with the creator, that you are, and embody that, not just say it mentally, intellectually, but embody it. What would that higher self of me think? What would that higher self of me become? And then start moving from that. At the same time, holding back that side, that old frequency, which is very strong in you, who will try to come back and pull you back to that fucking side where you just came out of, back to the cave to lick the wounds. You know what I'm saying? So be mindful. Like, that's gonna keep trying to pull you, but you have to rise above the situation. So much so that if you focus your mind in that, as the Bible says, focus your mind in Christ. And no, I'm not Christian or religious, but if you focus your mind in Christ and God, then and what you do desire, not what you don't desire, that eventually is going to concentrate and build a vibration strong enough that eventually is going to create a frequency that eventually is going to transform and shift reality that you live. And then that old one will lose its grip, get weaker, and fade away completely. And that's how I learned manifestation. And recently too, I'm not saying like, I would show you like, yo, look at what I've done with manifestation. But actually, I've done a lot, quite a lot with manifestation recently. It's all internal first, and then the test will come. Life will get worse before it gets better, and then you start seeing it outward, and that's real. But that's all. I'm gonna leave it here because I've extended longer than 30 minutes. But till next time.